It's your healthy habits and lifestyle coach, Giovanni. Welcome to another episode of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. I am your host, Giovanni. Y'all, I am passionate about helping those with endometriosis and polycystic ovary syndrome reduce chronic pain, eliminate stress, and minimize irregular or heavy periods through my M to the third degree healing empowerment formula. Y'all, there's a guide in the description. Make sure you get it before you get too into this episode. But y'all, we got Janeen in the building. Y'all, Janeen is a transformational wellness coach. She is about to really drop some gems. And if it's your first time at the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast, y'all, we love you. We thank you. Just know this is a safe space for you to learn, grow, and be empowered about your healing journey. But y'all know what time it is. And if you don't know, you about to find out. It's time to vibe with me, y'all.
Welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast.
Y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. Y'all, we are so honored to have Janeen Anderson with us, a certified integrative wellness coach, a registered yoga teacher, and a meditation facilitator. Y'all, Janeen's journey is a testament to the transformative power of mindset and emotional well-being. So from overcoming personal health challenges to supporting her husband through a stage 4 lymphoma diagnosis, Janeen has dedicated her life to helping others master their mindset and harness their emotions for sustainable success. So with a rich background in psychology, exercise science, and Eastern psychology, she has guided over 100 clients to flourish in life. But today, y'all, she will share her invaluable insights and practical steps to help you live better in your body, your mind, and your beautiful soul. Y'all, so welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast, Janeen Anderson. Woo! What's up, baby? C-I-N-O. What's up, Janeen?
Hey, how we doing?
Awesome. How you vibing today?
Vibing so beautifully. Definitely.
I love it. So if you could sum up your journey in this thing called life in one word, what would that be?
Ooh. I would say the first word that's coming to me is rich. It's been a rich journey. And I say that not because it's all been beautiful, but I say that from what I know about like wealth and building and development is that it takes time and that you have seasons of triumph and tragedy, but all of that together creates a lot of blessings and lessons that you can really thrive and flourish from. So yeah, my journey's been rich. She's been thick and rich.
Come on, thick and rich. Thick and rich. Nobody could be mad about that combination, right? That's awesome. So you spoke on tragedy and triumph. And I know we talked before about like your moments back in the day as you were younger in regards to having very painful periods and then being diagnosed with fibroids. How did these experiences kind of shape your understanding of emotional well-being and holistic health as you got older and knew that those symptoms weren't normal?
Oh, definitely. I would say for sure, one with painful periods, like having a menstrual cycle that is really uncomfortable and like being diagnosed with dysmenorrhea, our society has made that feel normal. And so you're kind of just stuck with this label that, okay, your life kind of sucks and you're just going to have pain every month, which isn't normal. And you're just kind of told to like suck it up, which I think does us injustice of how we also navigate the world emotionally. Because it's like, okay, well, if I have to stick with this physical pain, like what other emotional pains am I going through too that I feel like now I need to just stick with because the doctor said so. So it made me question some things. And I think in life, I've kind of gone on the journey of just questioning everything, but in a balanced way. Because if it's pain, I do believe that discomfort is a natural part of our life. If you look at natural, I know like natural life, I think in the wellness space, the yoga space, the integrative wellness space, there's a lot of go with the flow and do what feels right and all that kind of stuff. And yes, I believe in that too. But nature is brutal. Like nature is hard. Like seeds need force to be able to crack out of shells. Like, like it's not just all, feathers and rainbows and fairy tales. Like there is going to be some tribulations that you go through in natural rhythms and processes. However, they shouldn't be endured for season over season over season over season. There's flow, there's winter and there's spring, there's summer and there's fall. So it's about having those rhythms so that there's balance and not just a continual journey of pain and suffering.
I love it. I love it. And I like that you talked about, having this label or this diagnosis and saying, okay, this is not normal, but you're saying this is just my normal, but you're not giving me anything else to kind of move forward on figuring out how do I shift this to not be a normal thing that I'm experiencing. And so I first want to just say, what was the pivotal moment for you or moments that helped you say, you know what, I want to pursue a holistic approach to wellness. And I know it starts with mastering my mindset, my thoughts, my feelings, my beliefs.
Yeah. One of the first steps was just that I didn't feel comfortable. It was literally me beginning to learn how to listen to my body, which was it's a weird feeling when you don't know how to listen to your body, but you can feel that something's happening because it's like a new language that you're having to learn. So I felt this urge, a sensation internally that was just like, one, I don't feel like I should be taking so many ibuprofens. I was probably taking, I don't know, 6 to 10 ibuprofens a day during like, the week of my menstrual cycle. And it didn't feel right. Like I knew that this was not going to be good for me. I didn't know why. I didn't know what the repercussions, medical information was not as prevalent and open back in the day, but I just knew it wasn't right. And so I said, okay, I'm going to sit with this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to feel and I'm going to listen. So I stopped taking the ibuprofen. I would sit in the pain and I prayed a lot. I prayed a lot during those cycles and just like ask God for guidance and ask for clarity and ask for strength to kind of navigate these flows and these waves of discomfort and pain. And I gradually started to just educate myself and learn things about the hips, about emotions, about movement, fell in love with yoga. And to this day, during the week, especially before my menstrual cycle starts, it's a big hip week. So we are going to be doing a lot of pigeon and a lot of like hip openers and stretches and those types of things to help embrace and release anything that could be built up emotionally and physically. Because somatosensory, it's a relationship, between our body and our emotions are one and the same. They're not these separate entities that don't speak the same language. They do. So just educating myself, finding out more things, talking to other women who navigate these things as well, and then just seeing what works for me. Eating meat was, I love chicken. I love steak. I love all the things, like all of the things. And so also learning what my body liked. Yes, your taste buds like this, but what does your body say? Because they have a seat at the table too into what goes into your health and wellness. And especially if you're trying to see 100 without painful periods. So it was really a relationship, like learning how to listen to myself. And that was the biggest part, I think, giving my permission to listen and then to act on that wisdom that I was acquiring.
So I love the breakdown. And one of the first things that came to my mind when you talked about taking the 6 to 10, 8 to 10 ibuprofens a day was, did it even help? Was taking the pain pill, was it even helping you? Because I've heard so many people having, endometriosis, fibroids, just real bad period pain, debilitating pain, even when the period is not even on, being prescribed like narcotics. And they take them, muscle relaxers, they take them, but it doesn't take away the pain. It just makes them go to sleep. And when they wake up, their pain is still there. So my first question, when you were talking about having to take all of those ibuprofen in one day, knowing that wasn't normal and didn't feel right, did it really help with the pain? Did it allow you to at least get through the day, even though you were taking up to 10 ibuprofens a day? That was my first question or thought that came to mind.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It didn't stop the pain. It put you to sleep. It relaxes you and you go, like I had some great sleep, mind you. Yes, I did. But the pain it completely changes your life. Like there was actually a fashion show I was in, and I was the opener, and I had to cancel it because my period came on right then, right when I was supposed to like walk. It came, I was done. I had to go find myself in emergency room and go to the hospital because there's no way that I was going to be able to take anything that was actually going to relieve it and help me navigate through the day normally. I just had to opt out of a lot of life events because of it.
And I think we don't understand how like serious that's a situation. And so many times you might see a post, you might hear certain people say, with chronic pain, I had plans and then I had to back out of those plans. And I hope my friends or whoever understands that I just can't show up because I have to now just show up for me. I have to hold myself together. I have to figure out how I'm going to get through the day to get to the next day. So I appreciate you even being transparent to the part to say, even in some of my biggest commitments, I had to back out of it because my period started that day and that pain is out of this world. 2, you having to go to the emergency room. What was that experience like in the emergency room? How did they help you navigate through the pain or address the pain, or did they not at all? And you were just like, I don't know what's happening. I just know I need to be here because I can't survive anywhere else. Like, what was that like at the emergency room?
That was really rough actually, because I was in Charleston for Charleston Fashion Week, and my parents couldn't be there because they were out of town at that time. My husband was working, he couldn't get off of work, so I was there in Charleston by myself and had to leave the fashion show, go to like, I think it was a Moe's restaurant, and I just went and I waited in the bathroom until I could get help and called the ambulance. They came pick me up and got me on some Percocet to at least get me together, which is really ridiculous that we're leaning into that type of drug and pharmaceutical to relieve something that is a natural system of women. Like, this is not anything that's outer space or alien to our body systems and rhythms. This is a normal cycle, and we're having to go to that level of pharmaceuticals to create some relief. Something's not right.
And I'm glad you even mentioned that. And I was talking to someone else with endometriosis, and she, was on the Percocets. And, sometimes I don't think they realize that they're just giving you something to hope it helps with the pain, when it really doesn't. It just puts you to sleep because of all the other components that come into it and how your body responds to it. But then if you're not as aware as what you said, and that's the next thing I kind of want to go into it, of what's not normal, you could find yourself in an addictive state, going after something that's not even really helping you. But you're so focused on, this is the only option they are giving me, and I don't know any other way to turn. When it came to you and you said, this is not normal, I'm sitting with this pain, I'm realizing emotions are in the hips for a lot of women. And so there's intentional movement that I'm going to be doing to help release that emotion in my hips, to hopefully reduce any possible onset of pain. Like, what did that look like for you to get off the Percocet, to get off the ibuprofen? Like, what did that look like for you to sit with yourself? You sat with yourself, you felt the pain, this is not the way. What was the next steps for Janeen? What did Janeen find as a solution to really help her get through this?
Yeah, it was kind of the again, the imagery that's coming through is, it was really the pathway of a seed, and how seeds are first solitary. Like, they're usually by themselves whenever they drop off whatever the plant they come from. And it's dark and it's solitude and it's a little uncomfortable. It might be a little tight, it might be a little, just uncomfortable. But then you kind of got to go through some stuff to break through that initial layer of your outer shell. And so I had solitude. Like, I couldn't go to events initially because I wasn't taking medicine anymore, and it was uncomfortable, and it did feel dark, and it did feel lonely. But then as things kind of sprouted open and I started incorporating movement, and I started releasing as much meat as I was eating, and I started like doing the other things, teas that were beneficial for women's cycles and just like overall women's health, surrounding myself with other women, learning more about menstruating. Like, we learn so much about so many things in school, but we don't even know the depth and wisdom that comes from our own cycles. We don't know the history of cycles and how women used to have moon lodges and get together and like be able to really share the richness of what that cycle is there for and how we can utilize it for our own benefit. So that's when things started to sprout and bloom, and lessons came, and I felt more fruitful. And then I could share that wisdom with other women to support them in their journey as well. And so I would say that was the essence of it. Being able to get with other women, being able to listen to myself, and being able to kind of, you have to separate yourself from the larger influence so that you can see what works for you, because what works for them doesn't always work for these ones and those ones and you. So it's just important to get to know thyself. That is really what it's about. You got to get to know yourself.
I love that. And so, y'all, if you're getting any type of value, you feeling the vibes, I want you to, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and then after you finish this, make sure you share it with someone that you love and care about, that any of this information might resonate. And then in addition to that, I love that you talked about the fact that it's pretty much a journey to really get to know yourself, love yourself, figure out yourself, and navigate how to really approach you every single day. That helps you be the most vibrant you, that helps you not experience the pain, the lows as much, because you're getting so aware and you're open and you're optimistic about being able to see yourself not in the pain or the current state that you're in. So if anybody is in that state where Janeen was and where I have been, you know, after getting my diagnosis and not understanding what was going on inside of my body and the severity of it, you can be in that dark, low time. You won't always be there if you remember who you are, whose you are, and that it won't always be like this. So don't lose the hope. Love on yourself in this aspect, because as soon as the journey starts to open up for you, you're going to be the first one there to love on you and give yourself that grace to say, hey, I'm still here. And so I love that you took us there, Janeen, but it all went right back to yourself, like being you, connecting with you, having that space with you. And I also like that you hit on the cycle. You know, we weren't taught a whole bunch about your cycle, the in-depths. We didn't even talk a lot about fibroids, PCOS, endometriosis. Like, those weren't even terms in our health books. Those weren't part of conversations that we were having. No one even said, this is what a healthy period looks like. This is what a not healthy period looks like. And it was always a hush hush and the scarcity thing to shove a pad in your pocket just to go to the bathroom to change that, as if this is something that should be a secret. And that is a problem, because it's such a vital part of health. Vitality, but most importantly, how you continue to create generations and legacies. And if you can't do that with your own healthy body, what does the world look like? And if the world isn't supporting a healthy body and a healthy flow of life, and you can take that, you know, the various ways of a flow could go. I know my yogi over here got it. Like that's a big thing. And so what I love about this part of the conversation is that's what I created in like a guide, Janeen, because it was on this basic level. And as I continued on my healing journey, I was like, you know what? These are the different phases of the cycle. During the different phases of the cycle, the body is doing different things. And so while you might only be focused on that week of menstruating when your period comes, there's so many other things that's happening in your body days before, days after your period that you should be mindful of, so you can show up during those phases of that cycle in different ways. And so I did like research to find out like the different mindset activities you can do, you know, how to show up for yourself, self-care, not just journaling, but the different ways of expressing yourself when you're in that creative phase. And it's time to highlight rest. And so you're not out there thinking you need to lift a whole bunch of weights and run or walk 10 miles because your body's in a resting state and needs you to just do the yoga poses and just keep a low impact flow. And then it went into, you know, the phases in regards to what you're eating and how important your body needs certain nutrients and certain things as it is going through these different phases. And so then I broke up, you know, the different foods that you could be eating and what those meals kind of look like. And then I took it to the next level, like we said about the movement, how to move it. And then you also talked about the herbal teas, you know, what herbs are really good for you as your body is doing the things that it's doing. Janeen, I don't believe that people understand how valuable taking care of your body is, because without a body, you don't have much life. And I think they hear us saying it, and it's like, oh, there's those health enthusiasts, there's those health nuts, there's those people who they're all about their body. And it's like, no, we're trying to be honest with you. What you eat, what you consume, the places and spaces that you're in, like, you know how to feel when you get out of a toxic environment and what your body responds to that. Like, your central nervous system is appreciating you for those things. When you are tight knit, tense, and all these other things, you don't have to stay in a state of stress all the time, thinking that this is just your normal because this is what you want to go through. Like, release yourself from all of that. Like, you deserve so much more. So I just like that you started with the dark moments. You started with that seed because it was a great visualization. And I automatically thought of like a sunflower seed, because I was thinking like the cracking, the pulling, and put it out. And then that small little thing, that small little seed. And I'm thinking you did all that work to get to that small seed. And so to me, it was keep doing the work. Even if it cracks open, it's just this small seed. You're going to flourish if you just keep moving forward in this thing, no matter what it looks like. And so that's what I was thinking when you said that. And I was like, Janeen is on to something here with this seed, y'all. Like, it don't have to be dark for long. And there's a process to it all. And it's a journey. So don't let it overwhelm you or stop you. But let's take it into a dark moment, a possible seed. Let's get into the fact that people are really overwhelmed with emotions. And I know you talked before about like some of your clients come to you wanting to lose weight, and you have to create this shift to say, no, my foundation with you is emotions first.
Yes.
And I love that. So can you kind of explain why addressing emotions is so crucial for achieving sustainable wellness for your clients, but also for yourself?
Absolutely. And it's funny, I'm taking it back to the seed because something that's really interesting about seeds is in their biology, how they were made so beautifully. They know when they are in the right environment to open. So a seed will not open unless it knows that it is in ground, it's in fertile soil, so that there's minerals and vitamins and nutrients that are around it. It has enough moisture and there's access to sunlight. Until it has those things in some shape or form, and sometimes that may look like it's in a paper towel that's moisturized and it's still getting sunlight, but it knows it has the basic essence of what it needs. Humans are the same way. We cannot thrive unless we have emotional abundance. We've got people around us that we know that we can trust, love, and that, see us for who we are, honor us, that we have a physical environment that feels safe. Sometimes a lot of things, like, we're not psychologically in place to be able to meet our goals, whether they're body goals, work goals, family goals, relationship goals, whatever. So really making sure that the environment supports the success that you want. And if you need to uproot yourself because the environment is not conducive of success for you, then that's something that you need to do, because we live in our environment. That's our habitat. That's where we spend our time. And they're just saying successful people are not any smarter, any more, creative, any better than other people. They just have systems. They live in an ecosystem that supports and nourishes their goals. And so from an emotional standpoint, that looks like, what are your triggers? What is activating stress for you? And how close in proximity are you experiencing that every day? How are you reparenting yourself? If you had a tough parent, a relationship with parents or growing up, how do you need to reframe your thoughts? How do you need to speak to yourself to change the way of your inner dialogue so that you feel seen and you feel heard, and you don't have to go into the cycle of self-sabotage because your emotions are in disarray? So we talk a lot about, inner child work. We do a lot of, future self work. Like, I feel like we all have this beautiful respect for the elderly and, taking wisdom from them. And I kind of like see the old grandmother Willow in Pocahontas comes to mind. There's so much wisdom in the simplicity that they offer. You have that same wisdom in yourself, but you just got to sit and listen. Just like we talked about before. So being able to like ask yourself, okay, my 100-year-old self, who is she or he? What do they look like? How are they living? Like, how am I inspired by that version of myself? And what wisdom would they give me right now so that I can reach that level of my excellence? What do I need to change in my nutrition, in the way that I move my body, in my friend circle, in the way that I navigate my family, in the way that I play and have fun so that I feel enriched and I feel abundant, so that I can live a life that makes me happy and that movement feels more natural to me, that food is not seen as a coping mechanism, but as a resource for my wellness and my ability to thrive. So that in essence is really how kind of how I support my clients in navigating emotions and seeing what's working and what's not working and creating this wheel of wellness, because it's all impacting our work, our finances, our family, our hobbies, our interests. All of those impact our wellness and how we navigate food and movement. Because if we feel depleted or we don't feel fed emotionally, we will go feed ourselves physically through food.
I love that you hit on food as a resource. I love that food is a resource. It's not a coping mechanism, as you spoke on. But I kind of want to take this, because I love this, speaking to your inner child, or that rephrasing, like the parenting. And I think you said your inner, what was it? The inner.
Like talking to your inner child or reparenting yourself from
Yeah.
that.
For me, it made me think about, and you said, talk to your 100-year-old self and get wisdom from your 100-year-old self. Talk to the people who don't even want to make it to 100, who doesn't even see themselves making it to 100. Not even sure they even want to see next year. How would you help them with navigating through their emotions to better talk to themselves, to cause that shift to a place that they can want to be inspired by their future self, instead of feeling in this stuck, dark space? Can you talk to those people, Janeen?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, anybody who's experiencing that right now, I'm just like taking a moment of breath for you, because that's really what we need to allow and embrace in the seasons of darkness, because it's hard. And when things are hard, we are physiologically programmed to go into fight or flight. And so we stop, our breath stops. We hold our breath, we tense our body. So I just want to encourage you to breathe deeply right now. Breathe into your belly, breathe fully into your heart, relax your shoulders, let your jaw relax, and let your ears soften. Because those moments are hard. Being in those really dark spaces where you don't see the same value of life is really tough, but you're not alone. You're not alone. And there's still light at the end of the tunnel, and there's still possibility, and there's still a doorway to helping you flourish. What I encourage anyone who's going through this, or if you know someone who's going through this, to do is really kind of reconnect to that inner child. What I find that with our inner child is that regardless of how much despair and hardship we've gone through as children, our inner child is our hope, because children are some of the most resilient beings out there. They're so wise, they're so forgiving, they're so kind, and their heart is pure. It is kind of into that adolescence and young adulthood that we harden, and that we can decrease our ability to navigate resiliency in the same hopeful way. So to ask your inner child for guidance, and of course to like couple that with prayer and like support and mental health specialists and like the entire arsenal of support there. But specifically from an inner child's perspective, is let them give you your guidance, because children are simple. They don't complicate anything. They are, you can do this. I believe in you. I want more for us. And I know that you deserve it. This is not the end. And sometimes it's not these big PhD statements and research and, just these big narratives that we need in order to change and transform. It might just be somebody to hold your hand and to say that it is going to be okay, or that I know that this is hard, because we want to be seen and we want to feel understood. And our inner child is a beautiful place to start that journey. So that would be where I would encourage people to start, that are maybe navigating through some really dark times right now, because we're living in a time. There's a lot of darkness out. And I also know that there's so many people who are meant to shine bright in this dark age that we're navigating. And so don't let the darkness discourage you from being in alignment with the light that you're supposed to shine.
Don't let the darkness discourage you. That was beautiful, Janine. And I'm grateful that you took us through that and you spoke to those people. And I hope they really was able to resonate it. And if not, the first time they hear this, the next time they're drawn to listen to this again. But it was something that you said, and it made me think, like, inner child. Your inner child is this being that, you know, kept things simple and just loved life, just to love the life that they had at that particular moment in time. And I think when I was listening to it, it was like making sure you decipher what that inner child, who that inner child really is, because there has been so much childhood trauma that sometimes people say, well, if I think about my childhood, it's that lens they go back to, Janine. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Especially when you're saying you need to reparent yourself, because when you were a child, this is the parent, you know, energy, vibration, the stuff that you were getting. So I was like, just take it just a little bit deeper for them, Janine, to really know who that inner child is, so they can identify with it, so they can pull themselves out of this because it's still within them. Can you do that for me?
For sure. Yeah. One of the things that I would even offer too, if there's a lot of hardship, and we are designed so beautifully. If you don't know that, I want to offer that to you. Our brain actually will shut out memories that create so much despair that they diminish our ability to survive. Our brain is a safety mechanism. Our body has safety mechanisms. So if you are in a space where your childhood memories are very cloudy, like you can't remember a lot of things, you know that you've had a lot of trauma in your life, that is okay. We don't have to go that direction. We can go with the essence of, when you think about your inner child, what color do you feel? What color comes up? Or what animal do you see? What animal kind of resonates with your inner child? And what ideas, what themes, what feelings do you get from that? Because then it's a little bit less, you don't have to go as deep into some of the hardship that can just aggravate more of the emotional turmoil that you went through. But you're still getting the essence of the activity to grow and develop from. So just being able to say, like, okay, like, maybe for me, I'm just thinking about mine. My color for my inner child is yellow, big, bright yellow. And the animal that I'm thinking about is between a flamingo and an elephant. So, you know, from a flamingo side, flamingos are fun and they're cheery and they're a little odd. They stand on one leg and they kind of do their thing, and they're going to eat their fish and they shine bright and they're pink. How can I incorporate that into my life? It might be that I need to let myself shine a little more. Maybe I even wear some pink. You know, maybe I focus on, how can I balance? I incorporate more balance and stability and low impact movement in my lifestyle. I stabilize myself and create deep roots in my feet, so I feel anchored and I feel safe and I feel steady. So whatever that is for you, I just encourage you, like, play with it. It may sound silly, but it's these little things, it's these little simple things that can really plant beautiful seeds to enrich our life, enrich our mindset, nourish our emotions, and help us move forward when we feel like we're stuck.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I was thinking, like, flamingo, that does sound like Janine. And I was just thinking, like, how do you align it? And then you say, just wear that color. And how does that color make you feel? And I think even that is a concept that in some cultures matters. Like certain days wearing certain colors because you want to feel a certain way and attract a certain energy. Like, this really gets to an intentional, deeper level when you're really wanting to connect with your true self. And the only other part that I thought you were going to say, and that came to my mind pretty much when you were talking about the flamingo and you talk about that personality that does fun and things, it was like, let me just embrace me, you know. And a lot of times people are so held back or resistant with just being their true authentic self because of the potential external judgment or them judging themselves, or just not being as comfortable being you. And when you said that flamingo and the flamingo having the personality that it has, it was like, just embrace you. But it still goes right back to what you said earlier, spending that time with yourself. And the more you spend time with yourself, the more you're going to learn yourself, get to know yourself, become more self-aware. And the more you're more self-aware, you start realizing how strong you really are, how important you really are to life and the world. But most importantly, your whole existence and being is necessary, which is why you're still here. And so I love I actually think I like the animal and the color one more than like the inner child thing. So I'm like glad I even asked that question, because I got something out of that. Like even being able to take that into the classroom, with my students and just saying, take it for a moment, y'all, just let's pause. Let's do some deep breathing. And I want you to tell me what animal comes to mind when you think about yourself. And then how can you navigate resiliency? How can you show up today in all your being like this animal? What characteristics, are you considering about this animal? Take some time to research this animal just a little bit and see what stands out to you. Like that was a whole message right there. I think like another one in regards to that, but that was beautiful, and I thank you for that. So let's get into another time that was trying. So your husband diagnosis with stage 4 lymphoma was a huge stressor, and we just talked about stressors, triggers, and this is someone that you clearly love and care for. And when we were talking before, you were saying how as a couple, as a unit, as a team, you all had already valued wellness together. So it wasn't like Janeen over here eating, yogi, flexing, everything else. And her husband's like, all right, when are you going to stop eating that? When you're going to, get this? And it's just separate life. Like you all have definitely been vibrating. So when this diagnosis comes along, how did you manage your stress as a cornerstone of your approach to helping your husband heal through this time frame? But most importantly, what strategies did you use to support getting you from one day to the next day? Because cancer don't fight fair, and you never really know what the end is going to be in regards to that chapter. So what did those strategies look like, and how did you hone in on managing? And I learned this from my last recording, distress, because we say stress as if all stress is bad, but you got that eustress, that motivation, which might have been what you tapped into. Like, I'm not motivated. We're going to do this thing. We're going to do all the things we can do to get your body in a space to heal, to overcome this. So I'm going to say distress in regards to that.
Yes, I love that question. And the first thing that came was disbelief, because, there was no way, like, no, it couldn't. Why would this happen to us? Like, we checked all the blocks, we did all the things, we were responsible. Like, we were in complete denial and disbelief initially. And then complete suffering, emotional suffering, because we couldn't even like fathom like having a loss of a spouse and not like children, not having a parent, and like at a really critical age. Like, all of those things, of course, came to mind. My prayer was surrender and allowance, and to ask for strength to get through every day with whatever I needed to get through that day, to be there for myself, to be there for my husband, to be there for my girls. And it was a constant dance of surrender and allowance, and holding on to the moments that were really beautiful, and then also really feeling the moments that were really hard. I am so thankful to have the circle of people that I had around me throughout the last year, because having a close-knit circle of people that have your back, that will hold space for you emotionally, mentally, and everything else, that is an absolute cornerstone for navigating through hardship and really dark seasons successfully. One of my really close friends, who unfortunately lost a brother early on in her life because of cancer, gave me one of the most one of the biggest pieces of advice that I hold, and it was to feel it now. Don't tell yourself to wait to feel the feelings that are present. You need to feel them when they're there, when they come. They deserve to be acknowledged, because when they don't, that plants seeds for them to then live in their shadow of resentment, of, just illusions, and a lot of just shadow and negative low vibrational feelings that are harder to access later in time, because our perceptions change, our lives change. So feeling the feelings as they came, allowing myself to cry, doing a little bit of skincare afterwards, and just, navigating through that whole thing. But staying inspired. And I think that you touched on something really beautiful about how, stress has different avenues. There's distress, there's eustress. And the same thing happens with trauma. And, PTSD is talked about a lot, whether you have military experience or you've just had a very traumatic upbringing or adulthood, but there's also post-traumatic growth. And I know that for us, we've experienced that. Cancer was a traumatizing experience for our entire family. However, because of it, we are more focused, we are more clear, we are more intentional, we are more disciplined with the way that we approach life. We've, eradicated a lot of our time wasters. We've spent and invested money in things that are really nourishing both ourselves in the short term and the long term. People take for granted life. Like, do you have life insurance set up? Like, do you have, things set up for a rainy day? What is your plan? Lord forbid. Unfortunately, they have a commercial, I think, going on right now that by 2030 or 2050, 50% of the world's going to have cancer. How are you planning to either prevent that, or what is your plan for navigating a path if you or a loved one has cancer, so that you're not having to go through so much, there's still going to be some, but how do you plan to navigate? Like, even Lord forbid that ever happens again in our family, we kind of have a blueprint now of what that could look like, how we support ourselves, nutritionally, how we support ourselves from a physical standpoint, spiritually, socially, emotionally, and financially. Being able to have being able to have some sort of plan and blueprint is going to give you so much peace of mind that you are able to surrender and have peace in your soul and your heart and everything else, so that whatever rainy day comes, that you're held, that you got yourself first, and that everything around you is going to create those systems of success that will allow you to still flourish even in difficulty.
I love that. So this is my theme, Janeen, and thank you for going through that. I love the feel it now, the feel it now. And that is, to me, that was like, feel it now. It was a subtle but impactful, bold statement of permission. You're giving yourself permission to go ahead and feel it now. And so if you feel it now, you can go ahead and be aware of whatever it is that you're feeling that's causing the feeling, the feels. Surrender yourself to it. If need be, do what you got to do to get that surrenderness, and then let it go so you can move on. That, I think, is impactful. Why? Because so many people, one, don't want to feel it, or they want to feel it for too long. Right. And they don't want to just understand the awareness that comes along with what caused the feeling to feel. So then that way they can surrender to it. And I don't know if somebody needs the steps from you, Janeen, to know how you surrender to something. But I think that will also allow so many people to add years to their life if they let stuff go and they give themselves that permission to do so. When you had the days that you were crying and you felt all the fears, the feels, and possibly the fears that might have crossed through your mind in your quiet moments, we're going to be real with that, because you don't know what the outcome is going to be. You take it one day at a time. You flow with that thing called life, right? What did that even look like to surrender to it outside of just being aware it exists? What did that look like? And then we're going to get to this blueprint of what it could look like in the 2050. Get yourself a plan together. How do you navigate through that? That's going to be the next part. But first, break it down to giving people that permission to feel it now. But how do they surrender? Give them the healthy way to surrender, Janeen.
Yeah, surrendering really for me, it looked like feeling your feelings, and that if you need to cry, if you need to scream, if you need to, just whatever that emotional expression is, there's actually this exercise called toning, where there's different tones and frequencies that go with the sound of our voice, the sound of us singing and yelling and crying and so forth. So sometimes you may not even know what to say or what to do. Just make some sounds. And that may sound so crazy, like to somebody who's like, I'm not just going to sit in my room and make some sounds. Yes, sit in your room and make some sounds, because we are vibrational. Like everything that we're made out of, the smallest components that they found in science is vibration. Sound is an elevated expression of vibration. It's vibration that we can actually hear. So by making sounds, we're releasing pain, we're releasing discomfort, we're releasing all of those lower vibrational frequencies. We're letting them out and letting Mother Earth and nature repurpose it into a way that can be nourishing and positive. So make sounds, cry, yell, scream, whatever you need to do. Additionally, ground. So, we're electromagnetic beings, right? So we're like batteries. So being able to ground ourselves, spending time in nature, go sit next to a tree, go lay on the floor. That is my favorite thing to do. If I am having a bad day, you're going to catch me laying on my floor, because that's where you are held. There's not a lot of space between you and the most dense natural essence that's mineral rich and frequency rich and created by the greatest. That's going to reset your battery. It's going to calm down your nervous system. It's going to slow down your breath. It's going to relax your body and reset your somatosensory system. And you will feel a little bit better. You feel a little bit better. When we feel a little bit better, our choices are a little bit better. Our words are a little bit better. Our actions are a little bit better. So when we can reset all of that by just feeling a little bit better, by grounding ourselves, then everything else that we build upon that elevates. And so that's really what it looked like for me. Also, kind of the reparenting again, you're not always going to feel like moving your body. You're not going to feel like going to get sunshine. All of these really happy things that are kind of opposite of how we may feel in the moment, we are not going to feel like doing them. We got to find the dance of, okay, if you're going to lay in bed during the day because you're sad, that's fine. But after you've laid in bed for 2 hours, then you got to go take a walk. It doesn't have to be a long walk, but at least like 5 minutes. Go get you some vitamin D, and then you can go back and lay in the bed if you need to. If you don't want to be social at work, that's okay. But don't be mean. Don't be nasty. If you feel like you got some bad words that you need to say to somebody, go to the bathroom, write them down, send an email to yourself and get it out. Don't hold and, compress those things. Get it out, but do it in a way that is not going to deplete yourself or the people that you're around, because its energy is contagious.
It is. It very much so is. And what I liked about it is when you talked about work just now at the end, and you were like, don't be mean, don't be nasty. And we didn't really get into it here, but that's what got you even into this space. So, being in, was it retail, right? Being into retail, you were really helping your team, and you wanted them to grow, and you wanted them to evolve, and you wanted to provide this level of personal development. And then you realize that people weren't getting to know people at a deeper level, to just who they are as a person, to understand why they show up to work the way they do, how they function at work. And that's what got you into this space as a whole. So I kind of wanted to say that, because that's the first time you actually brought in like how you show up as a coworker or in a workspace. Like, don't be mean, don't be nasty. But the first thing you said was make a sound. And I loved it. But the spiritual person in me, based on like how I was raised in the church, it was automatically hearing them sing that song that comes to their mind to get them through. When you were like, make a sound, it wasn't let me just scream or let me just say a word or repeat something. It's like this hymnal.
thing.
or
Yeah.
this verse or something, and that you just kind of put in, that comes into your spirit during that particular point in time to keep you going. That was the first thing when I thought about when you said make a sound. But then when you said lay on the floor, it was as if there's a power in stillness, and then there's a power in movement, the way
Mm,
you broke that down. And laying on the floor is that power of stillness where you can just be, you can
mm,
just feel, you can just relax. And now you're not having to hold yourself up. You are
exactly.
just all the way free, letting gravity do its thing. And you're
Mhm.
just becoming aware. And that's something that I heard, like people that do yoga and Pilates, when they're in that form of movement, they're able to identify where their tension is, where their pain is, what positions are uncomfortable, because they're slow in the movement of what it is that they're doing. But then when you said after you've been in the bed, you might have been laying on that floor for 2 hours, get up and start moving, even if it's just walking. There, the healing is in the movement, or the
Mm,
movement is in the healing. Either
mm,
way you look at it, you have to move, because the
yeah.
movement stimulates that energy to get it out of you, get it through you, but most importantly, not let it be stagnant inside of your body, inside of your mind, inside of your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs. So I loved your breakdown of what it truly looks like to surrender, because you're surrendering to be able to get back to you.
Yourself.
And that was beautiful, Janeen. But you hit us with this statistic that I hadn't even heard about, that, by 25 years almost,
Mhm.
50% of the population would experience cancer of
Yeah.
some sort. So get you a plan together. Janeen,
Yeah.
if you had the opportunity to get everybody ready who chose to listen to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast, what would it look like for them to get themselves together now, starting today, in order to have a path that says, in the event that cancer knocks on my door of my
Mm,
temple, I am already ready and equipped because of my mindset, my eating habits, the way I move? Like, break that down. And if
mm,
it doesn't, how am I keeping it away by the way I'm showing up with my mindset, with my mindful eating, and with my movement? Set them free, Janeen.
absolutely. So, first, I would just say take a breath, because just thinking about it can be overwhelming and can cause some distress, because it's really unfortunate that we're living in a time and an environment that is unfortunately conducive to the development of cancer. Once you get your breath together, then looking at your ecosystem. What does your environment look like? What are the sheets on your bed made out of? What do the ingredients in your pantry look like? Are you eating predominantly, I would say a minimum of 50% whole foods that are well sourced and, created and developed and cultivated with love? How are you managing your emotions? Do you have a good game plan? Just like, anybody that's at work has performance evaluations. Do a performance evaluation for the wellness and sustainability of your home. What is your bottom line? Like, how is the wellness of your health? What is the relationship between your actions of what you bring into your house and how it's impacting your body? Of course, there's a conversation of Wi-Fi. Do you turn off your Wi-Fi if you have Wi-Fi in your house at night? Or how do you lower your usage of a lot of the Bluetooth and electrical currents that we cannot see, but we can experience? Hence, on some Zoom calls, the microwave will disrupt a call because there are frequencies going on that we cannot see. How is that disturbing or disrupting your body? How are you taking care of yourself? Investing. HSA is a part of health insurance that you can utilize. Are you going to the chiropractor? Are you going to do yoga? Are you going and getting cranial sacral therapy? Whatever. There's so many modalities that you can utilize that are going to support and help your health flourish. Are you set up for those? Are you comfortable fasting? If you are not comfortable fasting at all from anything, I'm not even just talking about food and drink and that kind of thing. Anything that we cannot fast from temporarily, we are addicted to. Some people may not like that statement, but it is the truth. If we cannot fast from it temporarily, we are addicted to it. So if you're interested in starting a fasting lifestyle or practice, begin. It could literally be half a day. You can start with intermittent fasting, just being able to fast from 7 p.m. until 11 or 12 p.m. In the next day. What is your fasting? Are you able to do a juice cleanse or juice fast? Making sure that your bowel movements, look at your bowel movements. How frequently do you go to the bathroom? Number 2 specifically. And do they look healthy? Do you know what a healthy stool looks like and feels like? And, making sure that you don't have pain. And then, of course, on top of that, from a financial standpoint, what does your health insurance cover? Does it cover if you go a dualistic route where you're going to go holistic with health and nutrition and movement, but also if you plan to take, any can't talk today, immunotherapy or chemotherapy, does your insurance cover it? Because some people are in their pockets 6 figures to cover chemo. So what does that look like? Do you have health insurance set up already for yourself, for your children, for your spouse? Looking at those things. And then are you locked and loaded to stay on the soil of this here United States, if you're in the United States or wherever it is that you live? Do you need to uproot yourself and look at another ecosystem for you to live in? Because sometimes it's issues with the soil, issues with the air, issues with the political climate. There are other ways. Just because you're familiar with something doesn't mean that it's for you. So being able to pivot your life in a way that is going to be supportive of the future and the longevity that you want for your life.
I love it. Pivot to the future. Can you pivot to the future? And what is it that you see for yourself that you manifest for your future? I love it. So breaking it down, I was taking the notes. The first thing was like your ecosystem. And when you think of your ecosystem, you're thinking everything that's connected to you, as well as the decisions you make, and what you believe is for you or not for you. So when you talked about like, what are your sheets made of? So many times people underestimate the power of environment.
Mm-hmm.
Physical space, emotional space, but most importantly, what you're putting on your actual body, because the skin is like one of the major organs.
Yep.
So from the products, from the sheets, all of that matters and plays a role in your well-being. No matter how minute you believe it is, it's still powerful. And then I love that you talked about the electrical current. And so many people don't even understand, like, and the more I hear it and I'm becoming aware of it, I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is a serious thing. Like even when it comes to earphones in your ear and how long you keeping them there, because some people keep them there all day until they die. I've been like that person before. Like, I'm just holding it because you don't want to hold the phone and put it up to your ear and they say it's bad. But even to think about the power of electrical current and what that does to your body, like that's a whole nother episode within itself to better understand that and how are you protecting yourself from it. Like even coming through the airport and you have to raise your hand up and they have to scan about it. It's like,
yes,
this is not safe. I know you're trying to find it, but we have to find a better way of really making sure we're good to go versus you constantly exposing us to this just to get to our flight, to get to another destination. Like that has to be a different way. But when you talked about fasting, and I know because Janeen, we've had enough discipline to embrace different food habits that align with our health and our goals. And we make sure we're still eating good food that's good for us, because we're not just having the regular smegular type of experiences with this food, because I'm a foodie and I believe you're a foodie too. Like we are able to make that shift because of our thoughts, feelings, and belief within ourselves. What it is that we believe for ourselves, how we care for ourselves, how we love ourselves. But food and the things that we can't stop, even for a short period of time, you pretty much said, I want you to be aware that this is addiction. And we're not saying just go without food, starve.
Right.
That's not the mindset you're having. The mindset is you're giving yourself a break from. And if you feel like breaking from that is going to break you, that is where the problem aligns. And that's where you might need to do a little surrendering now that you're aware. And we already walked through that surrender. So that is some you work that needs to happen. And you got Janeen, you got me. We're all here to support you navigate through that process, because you have to give yourself grace. And we're not saying beat yourself up for it if you're not there yet. We just want you to know it's possible for you and you can do hard things, and you don't have to do the hard things by yourself.
Right.
But that was big. as well as the insurance piece, especially if you're here in America, because clearly we know in other places there's universal health care. There's not a limit or a stop to what it is that you need to get in order for you to be your best self. But here, like you said, having that approach to have access to some things that, you know, are in the healthcare system, and then other things you want to take a holistic route for, you want to make sure you can afford that. Because Janeen, you and me both know that integrative approach of medicine or naturopathic ways, a lot of times those aren't a part of our health insurance plan to be covered with the things that we pay into. And that's an additional cost. And surprisingly, they give you additional information about the root causes of what's really happening. So that should probably be the priority. And then whatever that can't fix, we might be able to see what have you innovatively created for us to possibly consider. But I don't believe that that other side doesn't have ways to navigate and problem solve and troubleshoot to get there. But then that ecosystem of how to pivot in the event that the place that you're in now doesn't align for what you believe you deserve in a living space. And that right there, I don't know if I told you, but I am definitely considering and willing and ready and getting myself together to go someplace else that I feel would be more conducive to my healing journey, that I have access to the right things for me to be in the right place, to be my best self. And it's not where we are, because the more we're constantly learning of what we're being exposed to, even in our fruits and vegetables, that's a problem. And then you say, you got until about 20, 50, and 50%. There's a reason for that. There's a reason why we're getting to where we're getting, and we won't get into all of that, but you have to go to a safer source to exist and to be your best self. And I think that was also a way of saying, give yourself permission to explore other options that would be best for you. So thank you, Janeen, for walking us through that approach, because that was definitely something that was ideal. And you kind of been talking about this low vibration, and you know, most of the time when we see it on our timelines, people take low vibration to a plate, and here they go with these low vibrational plates when we get into, you know, family gatherings and stuff like that. And that's just how people are, and they're taking it. And you already said before, we're a vibrational being. We're electromagnetic. So you have this concept that, you know, if your heart is not in order, you're vibrating low. Can you elaborate a little bit on this concept and how it truly influences one's overall like well-being?
Ooh, so to keep it simple but still include some of the science, they've done body mapping where, based on different emotions that we feel, heat resides in different parts of our bodies. And when that heat is experienced, it has different effects on our tissues and on our health and just on our overall well-being. Additionally, there's been research done on water, which we're 75 to 80% water, that when we speak different words or have different feelings to these bodies of water, to these molecules of water, they take different molecular shape. And because we are filled with water and we're also filled with vibration, when you put those two things together, we're very easily influenced. Our body is very easily influenced. So the music that we listen to, the people that we surround ourselves, the way that we're spoken to, the way that we speak to ourselves are all influenced, and our vibration can go up or it can go down. And there's I think it's the 10 hertz is the frequency of a person who is almost about to die. The frequency of polyester is 10 hertz. And unfortunately, we have a lot of companies who use a lot of polyester. And so we wonder why, you know, why am I just feeling low? And like, my life is like pretty good. Look at what you're in. What are you covering the largest organ in your body with? Is it polyester? Does it need to be cotton? Does it need to be, you know, bamboo? Does it need to be linen? Look at how you're surrounding yourself. And even like, let's say, you know, you're a fashion forward person, you got to look a certain way, or you have a uniform, whatever it is, and changing your clothes just isn't in alignment with the way that you're living right now. And that's okay. how can you support the frequency of what you listen to? You don't have to listen to the radio. That's an option, but so is making a playlist on, another music platform. We have a lot more power than we give ourselves, permission to exercise. Do the things that you can do to nourish the frequency, vibrate higher, have a higher frequency with your food, with your music, with the people that you surround yourself. Laugh more, be happy with who you are and spend time with yourself, date yourself. Because when you're happy, while we definitely want high vibrational plates, there are also people who live a long, healthy life that have differently vibrating plates, but they are happy. They are seen. They celebrate their gifts. They're embodying their purpose. One of the books I definitely want to recommend, Ikigai, absolute great read. It talks about basically the research of centurions, people who live typically past 100 and the blue zones throughout the world, and how these people are living for a long time. And a lot of it is not high impact exercise. It's low impact, frequent exercise. They all have gardens. They have social circles that nourish their heart and make them feel seen and supported and celebrated. So look into the ways that you are nourishing your longevity. And then
how do you spell that before you go?
Ikigai, Ikigai. Ikigai.
Okay. That's definitely really not how I typed it out.
Yeah.
And then guy, like the person. So I'm like, we're going to spell that out for the people. The people is me as well. Okay, go ahead.
So looking at that and music is so important. And I know that especially ethnic people specifically love music. We love beats and we love, that treble and that 808 because it feels powerful and it's like a drum, it's literally ingrained in our soul. Look at music that has better words because our subconscious is constantly programmed by the things that we listen to. And if you're listening to, I'm not even going to repeat some lyrics right now, those lyrics that that you don't want to speak over your body hears you. Everything that we say, our body and our cells hear. So listen to things that are going to support the reprogramming of your body and of your cellular level of your excellence. Support that by listening to things that nourish you at a cellular level. So yes, that's a little bit about the frequency, the vibrations, and just being able to optimize our environment vibrationally.
So I love the breakdown, and I love that you always bring science into it, because so many times when you just tell people or talk to them from your level of perspective, if you don't have the science to back it up, they're just going to think, yeah, that's just her philosophy on things. And so it adds so much more credibility to what it is that you're saying. So thank you for, those in-depth analogies and walking us through the visualizations, like even to the point where it's like, you got polyester on, you're feeling the way you're feeling because you got that polyester on. Like, should you be wearing linen, bamboo, cotton? Like, check your clothes, what you're wrapped up in. So I like that part. But more importantly, I love when you said your body hears you. So watch how you talk to yourself. Mm-hmm. Your body hears you. What you're around and your body is hearing, even if it's not you, is just as important as well. So I love that breakdown in regards to what you mean by your heart, pretty much not being where it needs to be and vibrating low, because what you're allowing to happen isn't conducive to the energy that you should be feeling and experiencing. So thank you for that walk down. So let's get into this thing called sleep. Oh, yeah. All right, because I know you pretty much talked before, and we talk about it, and I say it, like, you need that 7 to 9, and when you don't have them 7 to 9, your body feels it, and it's just like, I'm drained, you want me to keep going, but yet now you're getting irritable because you keep pushing me, but you won't let us rest and calm down. And sleep is a huge thing. So what tips do you have for improving sleep quality, and how does better sleep truly contribute to emotional and physical well-being?
Oh, definitely. I love this question. Sleep is so important, and I am a sleep advocate. I hurt when people don't get good sleep because I really appreciate good sleep. So the biggest thing first is like communication and establishing boundaries. So with your loved ones, with your partner, your children, identify what your sleep hygiene is going to look like. We know, you brush your teeth like between 1 and 3 times a day. It has to happen. Like it's got to happen. It's a part of our hygiene. What is your hygiene for sleep? You got to go to bed by whatever time. For me, we're in bed at 9 o'clock. My little people are in bed by 7:38, and because I wake up at 5. So I need to make sure that I have that is a very clear line and boundary for me. So my people that love me and I text message and call, we don't do calls after 9 because Janine's probably sleeping. So, establishing your boundaries and being able to communicate that to people so that there's, not other things that are created because of miscommunication. Also, what does your environment look like? Dim your lights when the sun starts going down. Try to eat dinner at an earlier time if possible. Stop using screens, ideally a minimum of 30 minutes before sleep. But if you can really have 2 to 3 hours before you're going to sleep, be done with screens, it's really going to help because all that blue light that you're getting or using, some glasses or having some type of protective filter over your phone or computer is going to be really helpful because it's going to help you rest easier. Also looking at what type of media are you consuming before sleep. If you're looking at a bunch of violence, psychological thriller, you're on the edge of your seat, like it's going to elevate your attention, which doesn't help you feel restful and then ready to receive your sleep. I feel like sleep is kind of relationship. It's literally being ready to receive it. And when our hands and our mind are too busy, we're not ready to catch sleep because we over here catching other, energy and emotions and all that other kind of stuff. So put yourself in an essence, in a feeling to receive sleep. So, have a good, whether you like skincare routines or give yourself a foot massage, have your partner give you a foot massage, pray before bed and like speak over your body and, ask for guidance on good sleep in addition to, eating a lighter meal before bed. So we usually try and eat our heaviest meal in the middle of the day when the sun is high, we have all the day to metabolize and digest it. Eat a lighter meal in the evening and also try not to consume a lot of sugar before bed because again, that's going to raise glucose levels and then you have your whole body in a tizzy and then you kind of antsy and you have a hard time settling down. Some of my favorite things, I love also having an herbal tea before bed. That's so good and just like kind of puts you in a nice, nourishing feel because you can't rush hot tea. Like otherwise you're gonna be hurt. So slow down, drink some warm herbal tea, have cherries, which are really, really great to support great sleep, or cherry juice that's well sourced. And just allow your environment to be conducive of restfulness. That's because
That was
sleep
good.
is so important.
I felt better about approaching a better sleep hygiene. Like you really broke down some really good things to consider in addition to not just boundary setting and the expectation for yourself, but getting that in alignment in what it is that you do and how you show up. So it's real.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about when you're creating healthy habits and lifestyle changes is you're slowly making decisions to change certain things. And over time, you start aligning to that change, that it becomes your lifestyle and you feel
Right.
so much better with it because you felt all of the benefits that your body was able to receive, your well-being was able to see. You're happier now.
Yeah.
You're able to dodge the negativity and the
Yeah.
low vibrational moments and stuff like that because you're seeing how adopting certain habits and changes are beneficial for you. And when it's beneficial for you, why go back into ways and things that didn't really serve and align you to make you feel like your best self? And so that for me keeps me motivated to keep going when I can experience these ways of not feeling pain, these ways of feeling like when I show up for myself, I'm able to show up for others and I'm able to be more creative in my delivery and how I speak to people and being able to open up things for them, shine bright. Like you said, sometimes it's that light at the edge of the tunnel that people need to see and believe in. You just don't know who you're going to meet and when you need to meet them. But the way you talked about the breakdown into the hours prior to. So if Janeen is going to sleep at 9 o'clock, she said 2 to 3 hours is no more tech time. That 2 to 3 hours look like 6. that's about 6:30. There's no more technology. Like, that's serious. And some people have to scroll on technology to help them before they go to sleep. They're looking for a distraction. They're looking for something to keep them going because it's hard for them to calm down when it just says, put the phones down, put the computer away. Find something else that you want to make you some sounds or something like that. And then you said some herbal tea. What are your go-to with herbal teas? I got me some chamomile, so I want to start putting that in towards the end. So I did just order some of that. But talk to us about your herbal tea, go lay it down choices, and we'll get into the last.
I love a good echinacea. I love I usually won't do mint tea before bed, but sometimes if I already know I'm going to drop asleep once my head hits the pillow, I will do a mint tea just because it tastes so good. But usually I find mint tea is more helpful in starting your day. But echinacea, dandelion for sure. I also love a good hibiscus tea, a dandelion tea, and I'm trying to think what else have we done lately. Those are like the main ones that we do. Sometimes we will also make a homemade pineapple tea. Like, we'll cut off a, well-sourced pineapple and take the peel off, boil it down, make pineapple tea with a little bit of orange peel in there, maybe add some ginger. Ginger tea is another good one. But those are my staples that we use for tea in the evening.
And you've said this term a few times, and some people are in food deserts and some people don't know how to shop the best way. So when you say well-sourced pineapple or well-sourced this ingredient, what are some ways that people can navigate finding these well-sourced products? And when you do that, I just want her to give you ideas of what you can be doing so your decisions can start to change. But we don't expect you to change all the things and adapt all the things that we talked about today. It is a journey. Go with the one thing that you believe you can change today that you can also do tomorrow and probably the next day after that. And you focus on that. And when that becomes a staple and a habit and you like it and you feel it and you got it working for you and you moving and grooving, then you add to the next thing. You don't feel overwhelmed that you have to change all of the things because it is a journey, and it's still a journey for me and Janeen. But Janeen, walk us through this well-sourced way of getting what we need.
Yeah. So for produce specifically, being able to have a closer connection to where it came from. So of course, like, number one, if you have a garden in your backyard, you can have blueberries and strawberries and cabbage and chard and greens and the whole thing. That is going to be really well sourced because you put your love and your time and your energy into the food that you will then be consuming. Second to that, of course, is going to be like a local farmer's market. Get to know your farmer. Like, ask them questions. Let them know your name. Get to know their name and be able to create community with the people who are creating your food. Food is one of the most intimate things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. Yet we oftentimes have no idea where it comes from, who grew it, what words they were speaking over it, what the energy was in the room when it was growing, like all of those things. So being able to create a smaller, like a closer relationship to where our food is coming from is really going to help amplify the wellness that you're able to embody. If farmers markets are just out of the question because sometimes they're not as affordable depending on where you are, going to a local grocery store and seeing, okay, can I get this organic? If you are in a challenge to decide, okay, some things I can get organic and some things I can't, focus on the things that are organic that you are going to eat the outside of that fruit or vegetable with. So your berries, your dirty dozen essentially, which are, berries, apples, pears, all of those things that you would eat the entirety of the fruit. Whereas oranges and, pineapples, usually you're not unless you're making pineapple tea. And like melons, those types of things are more easy to release some of the urgency to eat organic. But that's a really great place where you can start. But of course, everybody can start a garden. Like, even if it's on a patio, you can grow tomatoes in a pot. You can grow blueberries in a pot. You can grow so many things in a pot. And there are so many great creatives and influencers that are showing us how to grow sustainably in small spaces. So there's a lot of opportunity. And, the time or money that you invest in, your go-to coffee spot or eating out at, the wing place on Friday or whatever it is, reposition your currency, your energetic currency and your financial currency so that it pays you back. because what you give to those other entities that you're, investing in, does that pay you back in longevity and happiness and health and wellness?
I love it. So your currency impacts your current. See, I got you.
Mhm.
I got it. I got it. I love it, and I appreciate that breakdown. And that I know that's going to help people in regards to when they say, buying organic is so expensive. So being able
Mhm.
to decide which ones can, I just need to make sure I can get it organically, and then the ones that I could wiggle and not get organic and be able to still consume and get those nutrients that you need from that food source. I think that was brilliant, Janine. So thank you for walking. But my biggest takeaway out of that was creating community within your farmers market.
Yes.
And I don't think we do enough of that, of creating community or creating the right communities that align with who we are and where we want to go, not necessarily where we are right now and where we might want to stay. You
Mm.
always want to be in a space or a community that makes you push forward and want to continue to evolve and grow, and inspires you and empowers you to do those things, not just stay stagnant and just be chill like your little social group, because y'all are going to do some of the same things all the time. You want to be creative and inspired. So last two questions, and thank you for walking us through that. Give some tips to the girl dads, the male role models, the father figures, for the younger generation currently, and also consider those who are partners, spouses of people who are navigating not normal symptoms when it comes to their period. What are some ways, some tips, some strategies that you believe they could be supportive and be a part of this journey of menstrual health, the phases of the cycle, and being aware?
Absolutely. The first word that comes to me is be an emotionally safe place,
Mhm.
because it's a journey. You're going to get sometimes a different version of whether it's your daughter or stepdaughter or your wife or, whatever female family member you're experiencing. It's like cycles. We are okay with the moon looking different every day, but we don't have that same permission to see the phases of our humanness as we navigate through our natural cycles and rhythms as well. So being an emotionally safe space, communicating, you can start dialogue too. It doesn't have to be initiated by, the woman in your life, or the little woman in your life. Ask them how you can be supportive to them. What do you need? How do you like to be communicated to during this time? What resources can I make available to you without you having to get them, yourself, so that you feel seen and supported and held? Communication is literally the gateway to a lot of success. Just being able to open the door to things that may feel awkward or unfamiliar. It's okay to even let the women in your life know, hey, I don't feel comfortable with this because I'm uneducated on it. What do I need to know? What can you teach me so I can help you better? That's where I would start with the gentleman, just to really be able to help the women in their life live better and navigate more easily during our cycles.
I like it. I like it a lot. I definitely think that's beneficial and valuable insight to even just start, in the way that they show up. And they're showing up asking for the insight and being an emotional safe space and not just being frustrated and not believing and so unattached to the experience of what someone is going through. So I appreciate that. All right, last question. If you could have a meal with any historical figure, who would it be and what would y'all eat?
Ooh, what would we okay, who is my person that I would have? That is tricky. Okay, I'm gonna think about what we're gonna eat first because I gotta think about this person. The
Okay.
person what we would eat is we would probably eat a vegan version of oxtail rice and peas. So it'd be like
Mhm.
mushrooms of some sort, sauteed in some good veggie sauce with a little bit of like quinoa or farro, and then a beautiful decadent salad on the side with some my husband makes this really good spelt flour and chickpea chocolate cake. So probably with that on the side, or a really delicious smoothie and some juice with ginger in it. The person that I would want to eat with, there's so many good ones. Is it a person who's passed away or someone who's still living?
It's up to you. Your historical figure.
That person would probably be I'm sorry, this is hard. I'm like really trying to figure out who I want this to be right now. Let me keep it simple, Janeen. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. It would probably be somebody indigenous. Queen Khalifa that has originated from what history has told us about California. That figure has resonated with me a lot. Being able to learn more about indigenous ways and how women just cultivated excellence and how we were able to really live off the land and utilize our resources and follow the cycles and patterns of the moon and the sun and the seasons and live in community in a very natural way that was in equilibrium with nature's flow. So that's probably who I would want to sit down with.
I like it. That was a good
warrior.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a warrior, you said?
I love some warrior energy, yes.
And spell her name?
Queen Khalifa, so Khalifa.
Okay. Okay. I'm with it. I love it. All right. Well, thank you, Janeen, for being an amazing guest on the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. Let everybody know where they can find you to vibe with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure to be here. And anyone who wants to connect, you can find me on Instagram at The Journey with Janeen. That's TheJourneyWith with, and then Janeen, Janeen. And my website is actually at lovejoystudios.com/WJWJ. So Journey with Janeen at the end. And I would love to just be connected with people and support you in your wellness journey.
Y'all, all of her information will be in the description of this episode. Again, if you're on YouTube, make sure you share this episode with someone or someone's that you absolutely love and let them know what your takeaway is and ask them as soon as you finish watching it, tell me what you got from it, because I feel like there was a lot of value that was poured out in this episode. And if you're listening to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast on your favorite podcast distribution platform, please make sure you follow the podcast and then give it a awesome rating. I'm not going to tell you to give it the 5 stars that I hope you give it, but I want you to give it an awesome rating. And then also share it with other podcast lovers that you enjoy tapping into, that gives you a different perspective. Janeen, thank you for being a guest that was able to hold that safe space for anyone who listens, but specifically for my endometriosis, polycystic ovary syndrome, fibroids, adenomyosis, journey of strength conquerors that are coming to be empowered to really take their healing journey to the next level by being intentional and being able to just hear and grow with us as we continue to have these awesome, I'm going to say high vibrant conversations. Yeah. So thank you for being here. Y'all, if you're looking for a healthy habits and lifestyle coach, that link is in the description of the video. And do not forget that the M to the 3rd degree healing empowerment guide is in the description of this video. It's absolutely free. It's walking you through the different phases of the cycle and how you can approach those phases on a mindset, mindful eating, movement, and even herbal tea vibe to truly show up for your body in the state that it's in on that day. Y'all, I love you. I thank you. But most importantly, thanks for vibing with me, y'all.